The night was dark on a broken world. The sky was red, the ground was black, and the air was heavy with smoke. Shadows moved quickly across the ruins of tall towers, and the sound of claws scratching against stone echoed in every direction. Ran. Her bare feet hit the ground again and again. Her breath was sharp and heavy. Her silver eyes were wide with fear. The girl's long hair whipped behind her as she darted between broken walls. Her chest hurt, but she did not stop. Because behind her came the monsters. They were tall, their bodies covered with scales and hard skin. Their eyes glowed yellow, their teeth were long and wet with hunger. The sound of their growls filled the night. Each growl was closer than before. The girl pressed her small hands against her ears. But the growl stayed in her mind. She could not escape the sound. She could not escape the truth. They were hunting her, only her. The ground shook as one of the monsters leapt from a roof. It landed behind her with a heavy crash. The stones cracked under its weight. She screamed but kept running. The creature's shadow grew larger, its claws reaching for her back. At the last moment she jumped. Her body slid into a narrow gap in the ruins. The claws scraped the stones, just missing her. The monster roared in anger. The sound was so loud that the walls shook. She crawled forward through the small space, her knees and hands bleeding. The air was tight and cold, her glowing marks on her skin burned bright. She pushed and pushed until she reached the other side. She pulled herself into the open, gasping for air. The world outside was no safer. The sky cracked with thunder. The wind screamed. She looked back, and through the gap she saw the monster's glowing eyes watching her, waiting. It could not fit through, but it would not stop. They never stopped. Her legs trembled. She wanted to fall, she wanted to sleep, but her mind told her one thing only: run. So she ran again into the darkness, far away on the edge of the ruins. A strange circle of light shone. It was soft, blue, and alive. It called to her like a whisper. She felt her chest pull toward it. She had never seen it before, but in her heart she knew. It was her only chance. Behind her the monsters howled. More of them had come. Their voices joined together like a storm. The ground cracked, the stones broke. They were close, too close. Her eyes filled with tears. She pushed her weak body harder. Each step felt like her last. The circle of light grew bigger. It was a portal. A doorway. She could feel its pull in her bones. The monsters roared in fury as they saw her near the light. One of them jumped, its claws cutting through the air. She screamed as the sound of tearing wind filled her ears. But then, the light swallowed her. Silence. Her body fell hard against soft grass. Her breath came in quick, broken gasps. The smell of earth filled her nose. She touched the ground. It was warm, safe, alive. For the first time in many nights, she was not running, but her body was broken. Her skin was torn. Her strength was gone. Her silver eyes closed, and she fell into deep sleep. Hours passed. The sky above was calm and filled with quiet stars. In the distance, a small town slept. A single house stood at the edge of the woods. Inside, a man dreamed alone. Beside him, in a small bed, a pug snored softly. The little dog's ears twitched. Its nose lifted. It smelled something strange, something new. It jumped down, its small paws tapping the floor. It pushed its nose to the door, then slipped outside. The night air was cool. The pug sniffed the grass. Its tail wagged slowly. It walked forward, its small black eyes focused on something lying near the trees. It was her, the alien girl. Her hair spread out like silver fire. Her body curled on the earth, her skin glowing faintly with strange marks. The pug tilted its head. It sniffed her hand. It licked her fingers. The girl moved weakly. Her eyes opened just a little. The glow inside them was soft but sad. The pug barked once, short and sharp, a sound of surprise, but it did not run away. Instead, it sat down beside her, its small body close to hers, as if saying, "You are not alone now." The girl's lips trembled. A single tear rolled down her cheek. Her hand moved slowly, touching the pug's soft fur. The warmth gave her comfort. For the first time, she did not feel only fear. The pug curled beside her, its body pressed against her side. Together they lay on the grass, the night passing into morning, but far above the stars shifted. A shadow moved in the sky. The monsters had not forgotten. They had not stopped. They were coming, and when dawn touched the earth, the story would begin again. The first rays of dawn touched the quiet town. The birds sang softly, the air was fresh, and the world seemed calm. But on the edge of the forest, a strange girl lay curled beside a small pug. Her silver eyes opened slowly, blinking at the light. She lifted her head weakly. The pug barked once, wagging its tail, as if happy she was still alive. She did not understand this creature, yet its warmth gave her a strange feeling, a feeling she had almost forgotten. Safety. The sound of a door creaking open broke the silence. From the small house, a man stepped out. His hair was messy, his eyes still heavy with sleep. He rubbed his face and yawned, but then stopped. His eyes locked on the sight before him, a girl strange and fragile lying in the grass, her skin marked with glowing lines, her hair shining like liquid silver, and beside her, his own pug, sitting proudly, as if guarding her. "What is this?" he whispered, his voice low with disbelief. He stepped closer, his heart beating fast. The pug barked again as if to say, "It's okay. She's mine. Don't be afraid." The girl tried to rise, but her legs trembled. She fell forward, catching herself with weak hands. Her glowing eyes met his. For a moment, the man felt something he could not explain. It was as if she carried a whole world of sorrow inside her. "Hey, don't move," he said gently, raising his hands. "You're hurt. Just stay there." His voice was calm, though his mind raced with questions. Who was she? Where had she come from? Why did she look not human? She tilted her head, not understanding his words. Her breathing was fast, her chest rising and falling with fear. The glowing marks on her skin flickered brighter. The man hesitated, then slowly took off his jacket. He placed it on the ground and pushed it toward her. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The girl stared at the jacket, then at him. Her hands shook. She touched the fabric carefully, pressing it to her shoulders. The warmth spread through her cold skin, and she lowered her head, a small gesture of thanks even if she could not say the word. The man knelt beside his pug, scratching its ear. "Buddy, what have you brought home?" he whispered. The pug only wagged its tail harder, proud of its discovery. The morning air felt calm, yet the girl's body tensed. She looked toward the sky, her eyes wide with fear. The man followed her, gazed but saw only clouds. Still his chest felt heavy, like a storm was near. He helped her stand, slowly, carefully. She leaned on him, her weight light but fragile. He guided her inside the house, closing the door behind them. The girl's glowing marks dimmed in the shadows. Inside, she looked around with wonder. The room was small, but warm. A wooden table, a couch, pictures on the wall, a life so different from the ruins she had known. She touched the table as if it were a treasure. Her eyes softened for the first time. The man brought her water, placing the glass in her hands. She sniffed it, unsure, then drank. Her throat moved as the cool water slid down. A quiet sigh escaped her lips. "You must be starving," the man said, opening his fridge. He placed bread on a plate and pushed it toward her. She hesitated, then took a bite. Her eyes closed. The taste was simple, but to her it was like heaven. For a moment the room felt peaceful, but peace never lasts long. That night, while the girl rested on the couch with the pug curled at her side, the lights flickered. The man frowned, checking the switch, then he heard it. A sound outside, low and heavy, like something breathing in the dark. The girl woke instantly, her glowing eyes wide, her body trembling. She grabbed the pug, holding it close. The little dog growled, low and sharp, its fur standing up. The man froze, listening, A shadow passed. Across the window, too big, too slow. The sound of claws scraped against the wall. He whispered, "What the hell is that?" His voice shook. His heart pounded. The girl pressed her forehead against the pug, whispering in a voice too soft to understand. The glow on her skin brightened. Her fear was alive in the air. The man stepped closer to the window, his breath shallow. He pulled back the curtain, just a little. His eyes widened. Outside, two yellow eyes glowed in the darkness, staring back at him. The shadow shifted, moving closer. The glass trembled under the pressure of something heavy. The growl grew deeper, rolling like thunder. The man stumbled, back, his voice low. "Oh God, it followed you here." The girl's tears shone in the dim light. She clutched the pug tighter. Her lips moved, but no sound came. The lights flickered again, then went out. Darkness swallowed the room. The sound of claws scraped once more, this time on the window frame. And in that silence, broken only by the pug's low growl, the truth became clear. The monsters had found her. The house was dark. The only sound was the deep growl of the pug. His small body stood firm in front of the girl, protecting her with all his courage. The man held his breath. His eyes locked on the shadow outside. The glowing eyes at the window moved slowly. Then just as quickly they disappeared into the night. Silence returned, but it was not the silence of safety. It was the silence of something waiting. The girl's hands trembled as she stroked the pug's head. Her glowing marks dimmed a little. She whispered something soft in her own language, a sound the man could not understand. But he felt the meaning: comfort, hope, gratitude. The man lit a small lantern. The warm glow filled the room. The girl blinked at the light, her body still tense. The pug sat beside her, pressing against her leg, his eyes sharp, watching the door. The man crouched down, looking at the girl. "You're safe here," he said slowly, pointing at the floor, then at himself. "Safe." He placed his hand over his heart to show his meaning. She tilted her head. Her silver eyes studied him. She touched her chest where the glowing marks ran like rivers of light. She repeated softly, "Safe." Her voice was broken, but the word was clear. The man smiled, a small smile. It was the first sign that she was beginning to trust. Over the next hours, the girl stayed close to the pug. She curled up with him on the couch, her thin fingers gripping his fur. Every time she closed her eyes, fear made her body shake, and every time the pug barked softly, reminding her she was not alone. The man watched. He saw the way her tears dried when the little dog licked her cheek. He saw the way her breathing slowed when the pug lay across her lap. Something inside him stirred. A strange feeling, a mix of sadness and protectiveness. Later, when the storm outside had calmed, the girl tried to speak. She pointed at herself, whispering a name. The sound was soft and strange, almost musical. The man repeated it clumsily, and she nodded. Her lips curved just slightly. She then pointed at the pug, waiting for his answer. "That's Buddy," the man said, tapping the small dog's back. The girl repeated, "Buddy." With a weak smile, Buddy wagged his tail happily, as if proud to hear his name from her lips. The bond grew stronger, simple but real. She ate the bread he gave her. She drank water carefully. She sat on the floor beside Buddy, whispering to him in words no human could understand. Yet Buddy seemed to listen, tilting his head and barking at just the right times. The man felt something strange. He had lived alone for many years. His life was simple and quiet. But now, in one night, he was no longer alone. A girl from another world sat in his home, and his pug, once just his companion, was now a bridge between them. But peace never lasts long. One evening, as the girl sat quietly drawing strange symbols, on the table with her glowing finger, the man stepped outside to check the yard. The air was heavy. The trees stood silent. His heart told him danger was near. When he returned, he found deep marks on the wooden wall of his house. Long, sharp, and fresh claw marks. The monsters had come close, closer than before. He touched the wood, his fingers shaking. He looked back at the girl through the window. She was smiling faintly, Buddy asleep in her lap. She had no idea that death had been only steps away. That night he could not sleep. He sat by the window, a shotgun resting across his knees. His eyes on the dark forest, every sound made his heart pound, every shadow seemed alive. The girl woke and saw him. She stood quietly, then walked to him, her bare feet soft on the wooden floor. She placed her hand on his arm. Her touch was light, glowing faintly in the dark. Her eyes met his. She did not need words. The message was clear. She knew the monsters were near. She knew he was afraid. And she wanted to say, "We are not alone anymore." Buddy barked suddenly, loud and sharp. The man jumped. The girl gasped. Outside, the forest stirred. Leaves rustled, though no wind blew. A growl rolled across the night. The girl pulled Buddy close, her eyes glowing brighter. The man raised his shotgun, sweat on his brow. The growl grew louder, closer. The floor shook under the weight of something moving outside. The man's finger tightened on the trigger. The girl whispered something to Buddy, her voice shaking. Her marks glowed so bright they lit the whole room. Then silence again, heavy, waiting, watching. The man whispered, "They're testing us." His voice barely a breath. The girl lowered her head. Her tears fell silently. She knew the truth. The monsters would not stop. They had found her. They would return, again and again, until they took her. But in that moment, as she curled up, with Buddy and leaned against the man's arm, a new truth was born. She was no longer alone in her fight. The night was quiet, but the quiet was heavy. It was not peace. It was the kind of silence that hides danger. The man sat near the door with his shotgun, his eyes fixed on the dark woods, his body tense. His pug Buddy lay at his feet, ears twitching, nose lifted. The girl sat close to the window, her glowing eyes scanning the night sky. The marks on her skin flickered faintly. She hugged her knees, rocking slowly as if trying to calm herself. She whispered words in her own tongue, words that sounded like prayers. The man broke the silence. "They're close, aren't they?" he said, his voice low. She looked at him and nodded, her eyes full of sorrow. A sudden sound tore through the night. It was not thunder, it was a roar, deep and powerful. The trees shook, birds fled into the sky. Buddy barked wildly, standing on his small legs, teeth bared. The girl pressed her hands over her ears, her whole body shook. The marks on her skin burned brighter. The man loaded his gun with shaking hands. He whispered to himself, "Stay calm, just stay calm." From the darkness something moved, a shadow larger than the house itself, glowing eyes watching from between the trees. Then another and another. The man's chest tightened. There were more than one, maybe three, maybe four. Monsters circled the house slowly. Their claws scraped the ground, their growls echoed like drums. The girl gasped, pointing at the window. Her lips moved quickly in warning. The man looked, and for a moment, he could not breathe. A monster stepped. Into the moonlight, its skin was black and scaled. Its mouth stretched wide with rows of teeth. Its claws long enough to tear through stone. Its glowing eyes locked on the girl. Buddy barked louder, his tiny body trembling but refusing to back away. The girl pulled him close, her silver eyes filling. With tears, she shook her head as if begging the monster to stay away. The man aimed his shotgun. His hands were slick with sweat. The monster's growl rattled the glass. Then, without warning, it slammed its massive body against the wall. The entire house shook. The window cracked. The girl screamed, "Get back!" The man shouted, pulling her away. The monster's claws smashed against the glass. Shards rained down onto the floor, its head forced halfway inside, teeth snapping. The smell of blood and rot filled the air. The man fired. The shotgun blast lit the room with fire. The monster roared in pain, pulling back. Dark liquid sprayed against the wall. The girl covered her ears. Buddy barked furiously. The house shook again as the beast slammed the wall with rage, but the danger was not over. The sound of footsteps came from the other side, heavy, slow, closer and closer. Another monster circled. Toward the door, the wood creaked under its weight. The man grabbed the girl's hand. "We can't stay here," he said, his voice sharp, urgent. She didn't understand all his words, but she understood his fear. She nodded quickly. Buddy barked. Again, racing to the back of the house, his paws scratching the floor. The girl followed him, pulling the man with her. The pug knew where to go. The man opened the back door quietly, his heart pounding. But as the door creaked open, the night air carried the sound of another growl. This one closer than ever. The girl froze. Her marks glowed like fire. She clutched Buddy tightly, her eyes wide with terror. The man aimed his gun into the darkness, his finger ready. Then, out of the trees, two glowing eyes appeared. Yellow, unblinking. They stared into the doorway. The sound of claws dragging against stone scraped through the night. The man's breath caught. He whispered, "They're surrounding us." The girl stepped forward, her glowing mark spreading across her arms. Her body shook as energy built inside her. Her eyes burned bright like silver fire. She raised her hand toward the shadow. The air itself seemed to vibrate. Then, with a sudden burst of light, a wave of force exploded from her palm. It slammed into the trees. The monster was thrown back with a roar. Branches snapped, dirt flew into the air. The man's jaw dropped, his shotgun lowered. He had never seen anything like it. The girl fell to her knees, gasping, her body weak, her glow fading quickly. He rushed to her, catching her before she hit the ground. Her body trembled in his arms. Buddy licked her face. Whimpering, the man whispered, "You're not just running from them, are you? You're something they fear." But there was no time for answers. More roars echoed through the night, closer and louder. The monsters were not giving up. They had seen her power, and now they wanted her even more. The man lifted her into his arms. Buddy barked, running ahead. Together they slipped into the forest. The ground shook with every step the monsters took behind them. The hunt had begun, and there would be no turning back. The forest was alive with noise. The crunch of heavy footsteps shook the earth. The roar of monsters echoed between the trees. The man ran as fast as he could, the alien girl in his arms. Buddy raced ahead, his small body weaving through the shadows, barking loudly. Branches slapped against the man's face. His breath came in short bursts, his arms ached, but he refused to let go of her. Behind them, the sound of claws scraping bark sent shivers down his spine. The monsters were close, too close. The girl lifted her weak head. Her silver eyes glowed faintly. Her marks burned on her skin. She reached toward the man's chest, pressing her glowing hand against his heart. He felt warmth flood his body. His legs grew stronger. His fear dulled for a moment. But the gift drained her. Her body grew limp again. Her glow dimmed. The man whispered, "Stay with me. Please stay with me." His voice cracked with desperation. Buddy barked furiously. He had stopped at a clearing, his ears pinned back, his body stiff. The man skidded to a halt. The clearing was wide and open, no cover, the worst place to hide. From the trees, the first monster stepped into view, its body bent low, its claws dragging deep lines into the dirt, its glowing eyes locked on them. Then another appeared, larger, scales shining in the moonlight. Their growls rolled like thunder. The man raised his shotgun, his hands shaking but steady enough to aim. He fired. The blast cut through the night. The first monster staggered but did not fall. It roared, shaking the ground. The girl stirred in his arms, her marks glowing again. She slid to her feet, swaying but determined. Buddy pressed against her leg, growling like a soldier. She lifted her hand, light sparking at her fingertips. The air crackled. She released a burst of energy. A wave of silver light struck the first monster, throwing it back against a tree. The trunk cracked. The beast roared in pain, but the second monster lunged. Its claws struck the ground where the girl had stood a second before. The man pulled her aside, falling hard into the dirt. Buddy barked and bit at the beast's leg. His teeth sank in, small but fierce. The monster snarled, lifting its leg, trying to shake the pug off. Buddy held on, his growl sharp and angry. The girl screamed. Her marks flared. She raised both hands and released another wave of light. The monster howled, crashing backward. The girl collapsed again, her body shaking violently, her glow fading. The man caught her, holding her tightly, his voice rough. "Don't push yourself, you'll die." But the forest answered with more growls. More shadows moved between the trees. The man's heart sank. They were surrounded. He fired again, the blast echoing. Another monster stumbled but kept moving. They were too many, too strong. The girl lifted her weak hand toward the pug. Her lips moved, whispering words in her language. Buddy whimpered, then barked louder, his eyes sharp. His small body stood, like a shield refusing to move. The man realized something. She had not fought for herself every time she used her power. She had done it to protect Buddy first, then him. Her strength came not from survival, but from love. Tears filled his eyes. He whispered, "We'll fight together." The monsters closed in, glowing eyes circling. Their shadows stretched long in the moonlight. The ground shook under. Their steps, their growls filled the air. The girl leaned against the man's chest, her voice a broken whisper. "They want me." He held her tighter, his jaw clenched. "Then they'll have to go through me first." The first monster charged again, its claws raised high. The man fired, the blast tearing into its chest. The beast staggered, but kept coming. The girl raised her weak hand one last time. Her glow erupted brighter than before. A flash of light tore across the clearing. The monster screamed, its body crashing into the dirt, unmoving. The others roared in fury. The man pulled the girl and Buddy toward the trees again, his voice hoarse. "Move, keep moving." They stumbled through the forest, the glow of the girl's marks lighting the way. Behind them, the monsters howled, chasing with fury. At last, they reached a ridge. The ground dropped steeply into a rocky river below. The water roared, fast and wild. The man looked back. The monsters were climbing the ridge, glowing eyes burning with hate. He looked down at the river, then at the girl, then at Buddy. His choice was clear. He whispered, "Hold on." Without another word, he leapt, carrying the girl in his arms. Buddy pressed against his chest. The cold water swallowed them, pulling them into darkness. The monsters roared from the ridge, their cries of rage shaking the night. The fight for survival was far from over. It had only just begun. The river carried them far from the ridge. The water was cold, crashing over sharp rocks. The man fought to keep his head above the surface. His arms clutched the girl while Buddy held onto his shoulder, coughing and growling at the rushing waves. At last they washed onto the muddy bank. The man crawled onto the ground, gasping for air. The girl lay beside him, her glowing marks dim, her chest rising and falling weakly. Buddy shook himself dry, barking once as if to say they had survived. The man touched the girl's cheek. Her skin was pale. Her eyes opened slowly, silver light faint inside them. She whispered something in her language, her voice like a fading echo. He could not understand the words, but he felt their meaning. Fear and sorrow. He carried her into the trees, away from the open water. They found a small cave, hidden by vines. There, he built a small fire. The warmth filled the space. The girl curled close to Buddy, her thin arms wrapped around him. She trembled, but she was alive. The man stared at the flames, his thoughts heavy. The monsters would not stop. They were hunting her, chasing her across worlds, but why? Why her? What made her so important? As the fire crackled, the girl stirred. She touched the dirt with her glowing finger, drawing shapes. The man leaned closer, watching. She drew her world, circles of light and tall towers. Then she crossed them out. With trembling hands, her eyes filled with tears, she drew the monsters next, dark shapes with claws. Then she pointed at herself, tapping her chest. She whispered a word, soft and broken. Her hand then touched her head, as if showing something. Hidden inside, the man's eyes widened. He understood. She carried knowledge. Something inside her mind. A secret the monsters wanted. A secret that could destroy them. She was the last of her kind. The last to hold that power, he whispered. That's why they want you. His voice cracked. You're their only threat. The girl lowered her head. Her tears glowed faintly in the firelight. She pulled Buddy closer, as if afraid he would vanish too. The man's chest ached. He wanted to protect her. But the truth was heavy. If the monsters kept coming, if they kept following her, the whole town would be in danger. His home, his people, all of them. Later that night, as the fire burned low, he stepped outside the cave. The forest was quiet, but the quiet was not safe. He looked up at the sky, and his heart froze. A shadow moved across the stars. A massive shape hovered above the trees, glowing lights on its surface. It was not just monsters. It was their ship. A deep voice rolled across the night, low and inhuman. It spoke not in words but in sound. The man felt the meaning in his bones. The message was clear. Hand her over by dawn, or your town will burn. He stumbled back, his heart pounding. The firelight flickered inside the cave. The girl looked at him with wide eyes. She had heard the message too. Her body shook. She pressed her forehead against Buddy's fur, whispering broken words. The man clenched his fists. His mind raced. If he handed her over, the monsters might leave his town alone. His people would. Be safe. If he refused, they would all die. The choice pressed down on him like a mountain. He looked at the girl, her silver eyes staring back at him, full of sorrow and trust. She had nothing left. No family, no home. She had only him and Buddy. Buddy barked suddenly, standing tall despite his size. His little body faced the fire, his growl sharp and angry, as if he understood the threat. The girl hugged him tighter, her glowing marks pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. The man dropped to his knees. His voice broke. "Why you?" he whispered. "Why does it have to be you?" The girl reached for his hand. Her small fingers touched his rough palm. Her glow spread across his skin, warm and gentle. Her lips moved. She whispered the one word she had learned from him. Safe. Tears filled his eyes. He knew the truth. He could not give her up. No matter the cost, dawn crept closer. The first light touched the trees. The monsters growled in the distance, their voices rolling like thunder. The man stood, shotgun in his hands. His eyes burned with fire. He looked at the girl and Buddy, his voice steady now. "If they want you, they'll have to go through me." The girl's silver eyes glowed brighter. Her marks flared. Buddy barked sharply, tail high. Together they faced the rising sun. The choice was made, and the final battle was waiting. The first light of dawn spread across the forest. The sky turned golden red. The world seemed calm, but the calm was false. From the shadows came the growls, deep and cruel. The monsters had returned. Their glowing eyes burned between the trees. The man stood at the cave's entrance, his shotgun in hand, his body tired but his will unbroken. Behind him, the alien girl clutched Buddy close. Her silver eyes glowed brighter than before. Her marks shone like fire under her skin. The voice of the monsters rolled across the land, low and heavy. "Give her to us or everything burns," the man shouted back. "You'll get nothing." His voice echoed with rage. His hands shook, but his heart was steady. The monsters stepped into the clearing, their bodies tall and scaled, their claws dripping with black slime, their teeth sharp with hunger. There were many of them now, more than before. Their ship hovered above, casting a shadow over the forest. Buddy barked furiously, his small frame trembling with courage. The girl knelt beside him, placing her hand on his back. Her marks pulsed. Her voice whispered softly, strange words that carried power. The pug's bark grew louder, stronger, echoing like a war cry. The man raised his gun and fired. The blast ripped through the air. The first monster staggered, roaring, but another leapt forward, its claws slicing the ground. The girl raised her hands, silver light bursting from her palms. The monster was thrown back, its body crashing into the trees. The fight began. The clearing shook with chaos. The man reloaded, firing again and again. Each shot echoed like thunder. The monsters roared, charging from every side. The girl unleashed bursts of light, each one burning through the darkness. Her power shook the ground, but with every strike her body weakened. She stumbled, falling to her knees. Buddy barked and pressed against her side, refusing to leave her. The man pulled her up, shouting, "Don't stop! We can win this!" The monsters closed in. Their ship hummed above, beams of red light striking the earth. burning holes into the ground. The forest ignited, fire spreading quickly, smoke filled the air. The girl's eyes glowed like silver fire, her marks spread across her arms, her neck, even her face. Her voice rose in a strange song, a sound that carried pain and strength. The air shook. The monsters hesitated, for the song was old, something they feared. She released all her light at once. A wave of silver burst across the clearing. Monsters screamed, their bodies thrown into the flames. Their claws scratched the dirt as they tried to crawl away. Their roars turned to cries of pain, but the power took everything from her. She collapsed, her body limp. The glow faded. The man caught her, his heart breaking. "Stay with me, please," he begged. Buddy whimpered, licking her face, his small body pressed against her chest, his bark now soft and desperate. The last monster rose from the smoke, larger than the rest, its body scarred, its eyes glowing like fire. It roared so loud the trees shook. It charged, claws tearing the earth. The man stood in front of the girl, his shotgun empty, his fists clenched, his voice steady. "You'll never take her." The monster lunged, claws raised. In that final moment, the girl's silver eyes opened again, her voice a whisper. "Home." Her marks blazed with light brighter than the sun. The entire clearing exploded in silver fire. The monster screamed, its body turned to ash. The ship above cracked and burned, pieces falling from the sky. The roar of destruction shook the earth. When the light faded, the forest was silent. The ship was gone. The monsters were gone. Only smoke and ashes remained. The man fell to his knees, holding the girl. Her body was weak, her eyes half closed. She whispered one more word, her voice soft. "Safe." Then her eyes shut. Buddy whined. Pressing against her, refusing to leave her side, the man held her close, his tears falling. But as the sun rose higher, her marks began to glow faintly again, not as bright as before, but alive. She was not gone. She was still breathing. The man let out a broken laugh. Relief flooding him, he whispered, "You're home now." Buddy barked once, wagging his tail. He curled against her side, his little body warm and strong. The girl's lips curved into the smallest smile. Her silver eyes opened just a little. She looked at the man, then at Buddy. Her voice cracked, but one word came clearly: home. And as the dawn spread across the earth, the three of them, a human, a pug, and an alien girl, sat together in the quiet light, a bond stronger than fear, stronger than monsters, stronger than death itself. The fight was over, but their story had only just begun.